Nunes blasting the DOJ and the FBI for failing to turn over documents on the anti-Trump dossier.
The reality is, we're supposed to have an impartial bureaucracy here that protects American citizens, and we don't seem to have it.
The president admitted for the first time he has been soft on trade with China. He says he had hoped Beijing would pressure North Korea to abandon its nuclear weapons program.
The NFL now waging their own war.
The league fining New Orleans Saints running back Alvin Kamara $6 grand for wearing those Santa cleats.
Yet, when it comes to kneeling and the protocol, they won't enforce that. It's a selective enforcement.
President Trump taking aim at Vanity Fair. The magazine just apologized for this video mocking Hillary Clinton about New Year's resolutions.
Why are we apologizing to Hillary Clinton for anything? My goodness, Vanity Fair, get a backbone.
Our fireplace, I feel warmer already. What is it, like 10 degrees outside in New York City?
Asking for a fireplace.
He requested it.
What a
he
team.
got it.
That's right. And I did watch the Yule log, which they say the Yule log rates during Christmas.
Does it really?
Yeah, because you turn the television there, you got a fire in front of you, you got all the
Christmas
flask
music
going. I did not have my flask, but one of our wonderful producers got me a Breitbart flask, which I don't have today. I'm going to show it everybody. I don't have it, but I have it at home. And it was a wonderful Christmas, but now we're sort of basking and we're moving into a new year. But
yeah,
we keep the fireplace here.
By the way, in Wisconsin, we have real fireplaces. We don't need a Yule log digital.
Well, normally in Wisconsin, you need a real fireplace. They say in Chicago it may be the coldest New Year's Day ever. Right. And that's south of Wisconsin.
True. President Trump had a great tweet about it. He said, well, this global warming stuff, so cold, bundle up, look out for it.
That's right.
Yeah.
When it was 17 below this week in Wisconsin, I have to tell you, I was also said, bring on the global warming.
Yeah. So New York is a relief to you. Well, I mean, all of us are enjoying a holiday break. Not so much on Capitol Hill, even though they're off. That's right. No more delays. House Intelligence Committee Chairman Devin Nunes slamming the DOJ and FBI for failing to turn over documents on the anti-Trump dossier.
Nunes now demanding all records be available by next week.
Our own Griff Jenkins, who never stops working, live in our nation's capital with the details. Griff, good morning.
Hey, Pete, Rachel, and Leland. Yeah, things are not only cold out Midwest, but it is certainly cold chilling on the Hill with this strongly worded letter that sets a deadline next week for a showdown between the Intel Committee and these agencies. Chairman Nunes is slamming the Department of Justice for failing to produce documents related to subpoenas issued over 4 months ago concerning the so-called Trump dossier, telling Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein in the last line, quote, at this point, it seems the DOJ and FBI need to be investigating themselves. Nunes is demanding those documents by January 3rd next week, along with witness lists. He is clearly frustrated with these agencies for stalling, and the sentiment is shared on Capitol Hill with House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy.
I understand the frustration, because when you sit back and you look at what has happened, the lack of response, Congress has a responsibility of oversight. They have been ignored. They have been delayed. They have refused to send people in to have hearings or to be questioned.
This comes as President Trump tells the New York Times today that he believes Bob Mueller is fair, but it follows a lot of shakeup of individuals who have given the appearance of political biases, from FBI agent Peter Strzok removed from the investigation, General Counsel James Baker reassigned, Deputy Director Andrew McCabe expected to retire early next year, and former Associate Deputy Attorney General Bruce Orr demoted, guys. It's going to be a very busy week next week.
Yeah, very busy week. Griff Jenkins there in Washington. Griff, thank you. Thanks, Griff. And this brings up Michael Horowitz, the Inspector General in DOJ, who we've talked about, which is why we know about all of this stuff. You called it a cover-up earlier by the bureaucracy inside the DOJ. Pretty simple logic here. You don't do a cover-up. You don't slow-walk documents. You don't withhold things from Congress if you don't have something to cover up.
That's right. There must be something very embarrassing for the FBI, the DOJ, that they're not turning this over. I mean, 4 months Devin Nunes has been asking for this information and has not gotten it. And you can see from Kevin McCarthy's, interview that we just saw right now, Congress is frustrated. Yeah. They are the representatives of the people, and they have demanded these documents, and they have not gotten them why.
You don't have to be a PhD in political philosophy to understand this. If you went to 9th grade civics, you know we have 3 branches of government,
That's right.
and they're co-equal. And Congress has the oversight function because if too much power is consolidated in one place of our government, it can be corrupting, which is what looks like may have happened under the Obama administration. Even with new appointees at DOJ and FBI, you still have a deep state and career bureaucrats who can slow walk these processes. It takes aggressive litigators in the House of Representatives and the Senate to actually do something about
We hear so much talk from the left about Russia, Russia, Russia. You know, the KGB is not accountable to anybody in the American system.
Except Vladimir Putin.
Except Vladimir Putin, that's right. But in America, these institutions, the FBI, the DOJ, they are accountable to Congress, to the American people. That they're not turning over these documents is an absolute shame.
Well, in the contrapositive always has to be true. That was, I think, 10th grade math.
It's a big word.
Wow.
You know, I'm just putting it out there here. And that is, if there was nothing
contrapositive, I don't.
Okay, that'll be in the 8 a.m. open. Okay, the definition. But if the FBI didn't have anything to hide, if there was nothing there, they would say, "Here's all the documents. Look at everything. We've got nothing. Our hands are clean." Take a listen to Mark Stein saying that this isn't necessarily an issue of overseas interference, but domestic interference.
Right.
Don't bring in a so-called independent counsel who's tied into everybody, who keeps on the team a bunch of hardcore Democrats who've been to Hillary's victory party, who brings in possibly the most partisan state attorney general in the country. Everything about this smells, and everything about it suggests that the real issue here is not foreign interference in the U.S. election, but domestic interference.
Order of things. Got it. We were talking about contrapositive while listeing to Mark.
It was going to take me a lot longer than 28 seconds to explain it to Pete over here, but there'll be a tutoring session afterwards, okay?
These guys were talking about that. I was actually listening to Mark Stein, and I actually agree with Mark Stein. I've always thought, you know, when they appointed Mueller, everybody on the right and left was like, this guy is amazing. He's the best. He's totally going to, you know, do this investigation the right way. And I always was scratching my head on this because he's best friends with Comey. There's all kinds of connections, and you look at how he staffed this investigation. This is somebody, I think, who did a really bad job staffing, or this was an inside job, because why would you have so many Democrats, so many partisans at key points of this investigation?
He had a moment, had an opportunity to really, if they really wanted to look at this the right way, they could have. Instead, as you said, stacked it with people that real and perceived have conflicts of interest.
Perception is reality.
Be fair on this issue.
Well, you know,
perception. I mean, you have the dossier. You have Bruce Orr's wife, you know, working for Fusion GPS. I mean, this isn't like perception. To me, this looks, this is bad. I think it's collusion.
It seems as though the media really wants to continue to push this narrative over and over and over. They will not take no from President Trump that he is not going to fire Bob Mueller. He said that again to the New York Times, not going to happen. He also said this about collusion. This was in an interview he gave yesterday down in Palm Beach. Virtually every Democrat has said there's no collusion. This is President Trump talking. There is no collusion. Even in these committees that have been set up, if you look at what's going on, and in fact what it's done is it's really angered the base and made the base stronger. My base is stronger than it's ever been. Great congressmen in particular, some of the congressmen have been unbelievable in pointing out what a witch hunt the whole thing is. So I think it's been proven that there's no collusion. And still, even if you talk to Democrats in Capitol Hill and you say, where's the there? For them, it's almost more about the process than it is the destination.
Very much so. Of course, this is the president who we're told is not transparent and doesn't talk to reporters and doesn't do White Hat briefings. He did a 30-minute impromptu sit-down with the newspaper he calls the failing New York Times and doubled down on, I'm not going to fire Mueller, and there is no collusion. This is a little bit more about what he said. In fact, he called Mueller fair. Look at this. He said it makes the country look bad, this investigation, and it puts the country in a very bad position. So the sooner it's worked out, the better for the country. There's been no collusion, but I think he, meaning Bob Mueller, is going to be fair. When I read this article and the interview, he sounded a lot more like a tested not a politician, but a guy who's been through the fire in Washington for a year, understands what he believes, but also that it doesn't make sense to take on Bob Mueller right now. Let him do his thing because you got nothing to hide.
Yeah.
Let it happen. It's going to go away, and he's pretty sure.
But the president's right. This does look bad. I mean, one of the things that people admire so much about America is that we have elections, someone wins, and the other side they do accept the results of the election. And to me, this entire investigation, the way it's been handled, the way the left has really globbed onto it in hopes that it will bring down this president, shows to me it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to the world that the left can't accept this election. They're globbing on it. If there was some there, listen, this has been investigated first by Obama before he left office, and now a year later, nothing. There's no collusion. There's nothing there.
Ads. There's Facebook ads.
There's some Facebook ads, exactly.
There's Facebook ads, and there's a few. Interesting. I mean, to make your point, the few indictments that have come down have absolutely nothing to do with the campaign or anything to do with President Trump. Amazing, really, how much news is coming out between Christmas and New Year's, even on this issue. And there is more news as well. Jillian Milley here with our headlines for the morning.
That's right. Good Friday morning to you guys, to you at home as well. We have some breaking news that we're following, so we'll start with this Fox News alert. We are now learning that a natural gas line fueled a fire that killed 12 people, including a 1-year-old at an apartment building in New York City. People rushing out of their homes in below freezing temperatures to escape the inferno.
People were on the fire escape already trying to get down on their own. That's how fast it was moving. People were screaming, and that's how we knew it was trouble, because people were screaming, fire, hell, fire, hell. We knew it was trouble.
More than 170 firefighters worked for hours to get the flames under control. This is the city's deadliest fire in 27 years. Brand new information about a major security breach days before President Trump's inauguration. 2 Romanians now charged with hacking more than 100 of Washington, D.C.'s police security cameras. In the newly unsealed complaint, the U.S. Attorney's Office says there was no threat to anyone's safety, but the 2 allegedly planned to email ransomware to 179,000 addresses. The suspects were arrested in Romania and could face up to 20 years in prison in the U.S. Nearly a year after Inauguration Day, President Trump will undergo his first presidential physical. The results of the standard exam, set for January 12th, will be made public. Then candidate Trump's health came under scrutiny during the 2016 campaign, his doctor ultimately releasing a letter claiming he would be, quote, the healthiest individual ever elected to presidency. The commander-in-chief is 71 years old. He has no known physical ailments. 9 very proud children taking an oath, becoming brand new American citizens. The kids born all over the world coming to the U.S. through either adoption or immigration.
It's a hard word to my mom because she had to do a lot of stuff to me to be an American. It was like a big honor to me. I was really happy. I was proud to myself to be an American.
Aww. Each kid held an American flag during the ceremony in Salt Lake City. They also sang the national anthem and said the Pledge of Allegiance. Very nice.
Love that story.
Isn't it cute?
It's so awesome.
It's a great story.
It's great.
Mm-hmm.
All right, coming up, the media loves to play up the president's approval ratings, so they must be pretty bad compared to President Obama's, right? Wrong. The numbers next.
Yeah, pretty insane numbers. All right, and we've showed you dancing cops before, but you, well, have really never seen anything like this. In case you're wondering, that is actually a dancing police horse.
Welcome back. Well, the so-called mainstream media loves to rail against President Trump's approval ratings. Newsweek going as far as calling Trump, quote, the least popular president ever.
But a new poll reveals Trump has ended his first year in office on par with Obama. Here to weigh in is Beverly Halberg. She is the president of the District Media Group and a fellow with the Heritage Foundation. Welcome.
Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
So talk to us about this new poll. So the Rasmussen poll shows that President Trump's approval rating is at 46% right now. President Obama's at the same time was at 47%. Yet President Obama, there it is right there. So they've got more or less the same approval rating at this moment. Yet the so-called mainstream